So there are probably vegetarians in the room. Can you put your hand up just so that I know who you are? Okay, good, thanks. I was a vegetarian for 7 years and now I'm a pig farmer. And if you ever do have a look at my blog, you'll see I make particular arguments about why that is, because I take an ethical and agroecological approach to food, and I think that animal livestock is required in agriculture, and therefore you eat some animals. But it doesn't mean you have to. It's just why I think it's okay to eat meat. Obviously, I'm a free-range grower, so I also think you should eat free-range meat. But David particularly wanted me to kind of talk about some of the, I guess, the social affordances of social media and new media in spreading the word about sustainable and ethical food. So I thought I'd first say I've only been a pig farmer for a year and a half. I was in Fairfield before that. We had a very farm-like backyard, and now we live on a farm outside of Daylesford. Very quickly went from, oh, we're on a farm and there are cows in the paddock, do we just watch them? Does anything else have to happen? To there are about 55 pigs, and we've just started selling pork about a month ago. And so when the question was asked, we are farmers and we are vendors and we are distributors because we're a direct-to-consumer model. All of our sales are online, mostly through Twitter. And the people who first started buying our pork have been with us for the whole journey. So the kind of social media journey for me has been amazing. I wrote in a blog post when we first bought the farm, if you hashtag it, it will come. Because for about 2 years, I had been hashtagging, I'm a be a farmer. And then we were. And then I had to lose that hashtag because then I was a farmer, and it was kind of hard to let go of that hashtag. But pretty exciting to be up there and doing what we believe in. And the reason we chose to go and do that, Joel Salatin was a huge influence for us as well. We visited Polyface in Virginia in 2011 when we drove across America on what we called a smiley face tour of America in a 1977 GMC motorhome with our ethicurean children, and visited people like Polyface and Bluebird and some other farmers doing wonderful things in America to learn how they were doing it. And we took that knowledge to our farm in Daylesford to see how we could contribute to improving the food system in Australia. And there was a reason why I was telling you that, and I've just lost it. The point being, we became farmers because I'd been advocating for kind of more ethical food consumption and production for years, since about 2006, I guess, actively and publicly. And the obvious next step is that if you don't know enough about production, you need to become a producer, right? Maybe not for everybody. For us, that was the answer. So we decided to go and do that, and it's been an amazing experience to learn from the producer's side. I already knew, because obviously I read a lot about production models and things. I thought I knew quite a lot. I knew there were things I didn't know. I didn't fully appreciate how profound the not knowing was, and how the social media interactions I was having with farmers that were teaching me a lot and giving me a lot more insight than I would have had without that sort of visibility of what they were doing. And I think it's a wonderful space to educate people about what's actually happening on farms. But when I got up there and found out, so things like, you know how we have total lack of transparency in the supply chain? You can't find out where, if you buy pork, chicken, beef or lamb in the supermarket, in 90% of those cases, you'll have no idea where those animals were actually raised. They may have been raised completely humanely, especially in the case of beef and lamb, but they may not have been, you don't know. What I learned when I got to the farm was that they know exactly where, they know exactly where all of that meat came from. We have to identify it all the way down the supply chain in case there's a problem. So our property identification number and our tattoos and all of those things carry all the way through the system. The information is there, but it's being taken away from the consumer. So that was kind of one of my first awakenings as a producer to go, wait a minute, the information is there. Why don't we get it at this end? And I think right now the only sort of solution to that is direct to consumer, like to have contact with your farmer. So ideally through a farmer's market, or through direct sales like people like Anna and I do, where we actually deliver directly to, or Taranaki, directly to the people eating our food. Some people we know don't have that level of access, like that kind of cultural capital to know how to do that, nor necessarily the funds to do what we would say is, in terms of like pork and poultry especially, eat less but eat better. And with pork and poultry, I mean, one thing I'll say to you too that always gets a bit of a stir is stop eating chicken, just stop eating it. There's almost no sustainable, ethical raised chicken around. There are a few people, I think Taranaki might be, I'm sorry about that, Ben. So, are you doing meat chickens? Yeah, okay, so Taranaki is somebody I would say, yes, buy theirs. But most of what you see branded free range is not what you probably think free range is, or you want it to be. And so, the other problem anyway with eating too much chicken, which we know our society does, we eat very little red meat now, we eat a lot of white meat. And pork and poultry can only eat that much because they're so intensively raised. There's really I always call it eating the goose with the golden egg. Eat the eggs, the nutrient-dense, delicious things. Eat the free-range eggs. Stop eating the chickens unless you know exactly the production system under which they were grown. And I think in very few cases do we know that. So people are always sort of horrified because they give up what they think is their wealthiest meat. And I'm like, but we're destroying the planet and our own ethics with every chicken we eat unless we know it's produced under those systems. Pork is the same, but there is a growing number of pork growers for you to choose from around the place. There's Taranaki, there's us, there's Mackayver, there's Bindara, there's Greenvale, and these are all just local kind of Victorian growers. There's just so many of them now, of us, and you can buy from many of these sorts of people. I want to finish with something that actually comes out of my PhD research without being boring. So I work on cosmopolitan theory, and social media has particularly interested me because in cosmopolitan theory, one of the things we talk about, and cosmopolitan, that's right, we had this conversation before the talks. Cosmopolitan is not the frequent, not the class consciousness of the frequent flyer, okay? It's not Cosmo magazine. It's not that it's chic or sophisticated. Cosmopolitan is meant to be from cosmopolites, which is citizen of the world. It's about actually connecting to other people in the world without being grounded in nation-state beliefs. It's actually connection and cultural belonging to other people. So in cosmopolitan theory, we talk about how if you come from a very homogeneous society and you're not encountering difference all the time that makes you question the way you do things and the way you've always done things, then you will continue to just do things the way we've always, status quo. We're just going to keep doing it the same old way. If you're in a very heterogeneous society or a multicultural society like we have in Melbourne, or if you're on Twitter, which is by its very nature heterogeneous, like there's so many people there from not just different ethnicities and cultures, but different politics and headspaces. And you will run into that difference all the time. And I think that in the food system space, we have these amazing opportunities now where I'm constantly challenged by my interactions with conservative, conventional farmers and the very real social health issues that people like the live export trade farmers are suffering. And how are they going to help their communities? I don't want live export to happen. I don't like that to happen to animals. However, I also am conscious that transport in animal rearing is a problem, full stop. Not necessarily more so in live export than it is domestically. I'd still like it to stop, but I've had to, because of regular encounters with more conservative farmers than me, think about how do we protect the social health of those communities at the same time that we improve the food systems and the welfare for the animals. And so I think that we're living in a pretty exciting age where visibility, transparency, and interactions are going to force people to really question why do we do things the way we do, and can we do them differently? I saw Taranaki doing it this way. I think I might try that. That's all I want to say.